It reminds me of how the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, stood up and said that the president was involved in a cover-up of criminal activities, and then she goes over to the White House and wants to sit down and talk about infrastructure. And the president's like, I don't want to talk.
An hour before.
Yeah, an hour before. So here you've got this guy Corbyn leading protests against the president. Why? And some of the signs out there, from what I understand, are very, vile towards the president of the United States of America. And this is what this guy's vomiting, and now he wants to have a meeting with him? Of course not.
We could not show some of the protests because the signs were so repulsive. So that's unusual because people are angry, but they usually know that to do some vulgar on a sign knows it's not going to get any publicity at all. So it's stupid, number one.
Yes.
Number two, your points are going to get across, and it hasn't been big. Now, a few more highlights for May. We talked through Theresa May's remarks, but here's how they're a little different from the president. The president talked about our priorities. NATO, you better pay your fair share.
Yes.
He talked about the alliance. It's as strong as ever. He talks about Brexit. He thinks it's necessary. He could do a trade deal that's really going to benefit the British economy in a way it never would have benefited if you stay in the EU. And he thinks should be done quite soon. To a question on immigration had nothing to do with this, but Theresa May is not happy that we left the Iran deal and the Paris climate deal. Cut 40.
Today we've discussed again the importance of our two nations working together to address Iran's destabilizing activity in the region and to ensure Tehran cannot acquire a nuclear weapon. Although we differ on the means of achieving that, as I've said before, the UK continues to stand by the nuclear deal. It is clear that we both want to reach the same goal. It is important that Iran meets its obligations, and we do everything to avoid escalation, which is in no one's interest.
Yeah, on climate change, cut 41.
Recognising our nations as safer and more prosperous when we work together on the biggest challenges of our time, I also set out the UK's approach to tackling climate change and our continued support for the Paris Agreement.
We know about the Paris climate deal. It told Moscow and China, do what you can, and told us to sacrifice everything.
Yeah, the Paris climate change, once again, it was a unilateral executive action by President Obama. It was not something that went
right to be turned over.
Absolutely. And so it is not something that the incoming president has to abide by. And furthermore, it was a major wealth redistribution scheme. Look at the protests that you saw in France when all of a sudden the people realized how their gas taxes were going to increase because of participation in this climate change scheme of Macron. In the United States of America, we have reduced our emissions on our own, especially with the advent of the fracking and the natural gas revolution that we have. So we're doing these things on our own. We don't need to
Natural
be
gas
mandated.
burns clean.
Absolutely, burns clean. And so we are converting more mass transit vehicles to natural gas and maybe more personal vehicles as well. And we are extending our use of wind and solar. We didn't need any climate accord to do that.
So, I mean, any of this, Americans by nature not thrilled with the UN because we have our own sovereignty.
Yes.
We know what our goals are. And when you go in there and you have Bahrain and others with some power over you, it's disconcerting. I'm being very general. So you have the Paris climate deal. No matter what administration is, we always lean towards renewables and trying to burn cleaner. But then all these ramifications go into this global deal, and you look around the table and you say the major polluters are China. Yes. They have very minimum standards, and India, as well as Russia. And then you say, well, we are the leaders. We do it better. We do it more efficiently than anybody else. So we have to show leadership. There's a way to do it and not punish us for being the best.
Absolutely.
And that's what we understand leadership. There's got to be a way to do it in which you could maybe deal Republicans and Democrats in and say, guys, how do we lead the world on this, but do it responsibly without destroying our economy? Instead, President Obama polarizes, vilifies those who question, and then gets everybody's back up because we all have pride. Really, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb if I question climate change. So I guess this conversation's over.
You're a member of the Flat Earth Society. Remember how that will come out? The interesting thing is that when I look at all of these protests that are happening, it is because we have an America that's stronger. You have an America that's not part of a globalist, progressive, socialist, ideological agenda, and they don't like that. They were very comfortable with the previous administration that played by their rules, that saw